Hai, Assalamualaikum. Ini Sembang Santai Miti Bicara Asean bersama saya, Naila Huda. Dan sebelum ini kami dah bawakan 2 episod. Satu topik What is ASEAN bersama dengan YB Menteri dan juga satu lagi episod mengenai dengan wanita di ASEAN. So if you missed those episodes, do check them out because we had some pretty interesting conversations. But for those of you who are caught up, we've covered What is ASEAN, Women in ASEAN, and today we want to look at another important demography in ASEAN, and that is youths, anak muda di ASEAN. And this is important because they make up over 34% of the entire population in ASEAN. And I think that amounts to about 224 million of them in total, with over 50% of them just being Gen Zs. And those are some big numbers. They are indeed a significant segment of the ASEAN population. But how significant is ASEAN to them? And what would it take to make ASEAN more present, more relevant, and more significant to these people? That's what we're trying to unpack today, and to hopefully answer some of these questions, to discuss how relevant is ASEAN today. We have some pretty prominent young leaders, industry leaders. First, we have Deborah Melissa Botro. She's a distinguished Malaysian entrepreneur, creative director, and advocate for youth and women in business across ASEAN, as the founder and creative director of Sienna Design, a boutique creative agency in Kuala Lumpur, specializing in branding, marketing, and digital strategy. Thank you, Deborah, for joining us. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks for having me here today.
We also have Amirul American, a Malaysian engineer and entrepreneur dedicated to advancing sustainable agriculture through innovative technology, as the co-founder and chief operating officer, COO of Carbotech, a biotech startup that develops photosynthesis enhancing solutions to increase crop yields and bolster food security. That's a mouthful, Amirul. Very impressive. As impressive as it is a mouthful. How are you?
Good, thank you. Happy to be here.
Very interesting backgrounds you guys are from. Quite different, but in business and young entrepreneurs as well. But before we get into that, I just want to get on a personal level, if that's okay with you guys, right? Just talking about ASEAN, when you guys are like hanging out with friends, lepak-lepak, does that topic even come out like ASEAN? Is it even important, relevant to you guys? Maybe, Deborah?
I think, having my role as, Secretary General for the ASEAN Young Entrepreneur Council,
that makes it a bit unique for you.
Yeah. And we've been doing it for 10 years now, right? And I would say now, let's say the last 3 years, people are talking more about ASEAN, what is ASEAN, learning more about it. In the beginning, people were confused, Asia, ASEAN, like, apalah, difference, kan? And I'm like, no, look, ASEAN stands for something. It's an agreement of these 10 countries that are coming together to work, right? To help all of us. So I think, especially like now we have like shows like this, it's actually very good. Yeah. Because it's really helping to reach out to more people, to teach them what is ASEAN and actually how it's actually super beneficial to all of us. It's not only beneficial for the governments or bureaucratic and all that. It's not actually. So I think now, from my perspective and from what I hear and what I see, definitely a lot more people are talking about it, but not enough. We still can reach to a lot more people.
But as I say, you're kind of in a unique position because you're not new to this space, right? You've been working, and I want to get to that, of course. But like Amirul, do you ever talk about ASEAN, like lepak-lepak with friends?
You want me to give you an honest answer? Tak lah, of course. Like, why would you even talk about ASEAN? But being in Carbotech, so ASEAN is a very important country. So for us, without ASEAN, we wouldn't be able to sell our products and to reach the full capacity of our factory. So we rely so much on our Singaporean distributor to sell it to Thailand, to China, and then we also sell it to Indonesia. So because of this ASEAN nation, we are able to sell more of our products. So not just benefiting Malaysian, but the neighboring countries as well. So in that context, it is important. So we do talk about within the company, but if you talk about friends, memang tak lah.
Yeah, so I'm assuming, you're trying to see like what the benefit is, right? Because among friends, what's the point? But when it comes to business, then you see, there is a point to it because you're getting something from it, right? But like for Deborah, like when you see this kind of take that people have, what is it in it for me? What's in it for me? Why do I have to care? So what do you think like for young people like anak muda dekat Malaysia in like other ASEAN countries macam what do they get out of it that they should know about ASEAN?
We can break it down. I mean, I can talk about this for hours, okay? But let me try and summarize. We can actually break it down to different sectors, right? It's cultural, it's economic, it's tourism, it's a lot of things, right? And ASEAN is unique, yet it's not unique. Okay, and why I say this is very, very simple. Unique is in the sense that all these countries that are together and working together now are not common, say, for Europeans, Americans. But ASEAN and South America are actually very similar.
Oh, we do like rice.
Yeah.
Yeah, these two
That's
continents. That's one probably.
And the
It's very
reason why I
hot.
say that is because, okay, in South America, they have something called Mercosur, which is an agreement of a few countries similar like ASEAN, the same, basically. And South American countries, of course, they have the countries in the equator and down, okay? But the countries that are based in the equator have the same and similar vegetation as we have here, right? And some of them will eat rice, some don't, it doesn't matter. But the comparison that I'm doing is that they have very rich and very poor.
Yeah.
We have very rich and very poor. Europe doesn't have that. So that's out. US doesn't have it out. So these two regions are actually very similar and actually can work a lot together. And that's why I've been working on building a partnership between ASEAN countries and South American countries, because there's so much opportunities and collaborations that can happen between these entrepreneurs, but they don't know it. Also because people are not looking outside into what you can actually build. Like people tend to get stuck in this little bubble, you know, which is normal as human beings, right? But we need to be able to, you know, explore outside. And ASEAN, yes, it's governmental, and yes, it is diplomatic and bureaucratic, however you want to put it. But it also is built for the private sector. How can we help our companies, our people, our entrepreneurs in each of these countries to work together? They have ASEAN Free Trade Agreement. They have RCEP.
Yeah.
But people need to go out and look for it also, right? So that's also why we have our council. Like we are a council built by young entrepreneurs, run by entrepreneurs, for young entrepreneurs, right? So we are trying to bring all these entrepreneurs from all over ASEAN together into one platform, like an umbrella, and share our struggles, but also share our triumphs and share like what can we do together? What can we do to help one another to connect? And you'll find businesses in Laos who want to come here, you know, or find a partner here. So they use our platform to do that. And then in terms of culture, the culture is amazing. I mean, there's so much culture here. I mean, Malaysia has so much on its own, and then you go to Laos and there's so much on that, and then you go to Vietnam and they have so much, or you go to Thailand, there's so much. So it's so vibrant. But why aren't we using this vibrancy to our advantage? That's what I always ask. Like, we need to step out and use this vibrancy to our advantage, because now Europe is looking here. Australia is looking here. African countries are looking here. Because ASEAN is the next regional hub of businesses to grow. So we should be maximizing it. We shouldn't be letting, of course we want the people to come in, but work with us, collaborate. That's why I always say, like, now for me, like, collaboration is key. Stop competing, stop fighting, work together. Even different industries, you know, like your industry can work with a tech industry, can work with so many, with arts, but we need to break this shell of people, you know, like, come out.
I mean, like you say, people need to come out and look for it, right? Like, Amirul, have you heard of any of these, you know, projects, these frameworks, these initiatives that are going on? Like, as a young entrepreneur, obviously there's all these macam initiatives that can help you, but do you know of them?
If you ask me honestly, I would not know. But what ASEAN then brings, right? Because to echo to what Deborah said, everyone is now looking at ASEAN. So we have international investors that investing in our company, and they are now asking us, do you know any other ASEAN companies within essentially ASEAN for us to invest in?
Like they're asking you.
They are asking us because they are investing now. So what Deborah said, they're looking at us because we are the, I guess, rising nation, rising region for them to invest in. And we can't just be competing with other people. We need to collaborate. So truly echoing to what Deborah said is true. Because if we collaborate, we lift each other up, we together can make our presence known to the bigger nations out there in the world.
I mean, to the rest of the world, this is relatively like untapped markets, right? There's still so much to discover. But going back to that topic of just young people, I mean, you guys, Deborah, you're a special case. You've been working within the ASEAN framework for so long, and Amirul, you're relatively exposed to that, regional market and even international market. But for like the rest of the young entrepreneurs, or not even entrepreneurs, just, young people out there trying to make it work, they don't know what's happening, right? Not even at an international level, regional lagi lah pun tak tahu. So it's like, what do you think is the best way for that to get to them? Like, I mean, in hindsight, right? Looking back in the past 10 years, what do you think would have helped?
I think if they invest more on the communication, I think to get through to this anak muda, to these youngsters, they are all watching the social media, TikTok, Instagram. If ASEAN come together to invest in like a communication arm or something like that to tell and roll out these initiatives so that it is known to these youngsters, then it will be easier for us to digest this information. I think a lot of these, initiatives are displayed in newspaper or something that doesn't get to us. So honestly, I would not know what are the things that are available that we can actually leverage on. But if you tell me in general, I do see if I go now talking to my CIMB friend, they are saying, for scholarship, they're giving to people in Indonesia, to Singapore, although CIMB is born in Malaysia, but they're doing that because they see really aspiring young talents around the region. So they are giving them scholarship, and that is what CIMB already now initiating, hoping other bigger companies would do the same. A lot of young talents out there that is just waiting to be,
discovered.
Discovered, yeah.
I mean, like Deborah, going back to the youth council, you've been working. I think this is coming to the 10th year now, right?
It's our 10-year anniversary.
Maybe you can help summarize, just like briefly, what are some of the...
I'll do my best to summarize it.
What are some of the milestones?
Basically, let me tell you quickly what is the AYC, right? So the AYC is the ASEAN Young Entrepreneur Council. And we started it and launched it in Malaysia back in 2015. So now we've done one circle. And we were firstly incubated under the ASEAN Business Advisory Council, which is in short ASEAN-BAC. So our structure is exactly the same. And what is special about it is that we have an association representation basically in every 10 ASEAN countries. And each of those associations must be endorsed by the respective trade ministry. So for example, in Malaysia, MAYA, the Malaysian Young Entrepreneur Association, where I sit as founder and president, we're endorsed by MITI. Right? So it just gives us the connection also with the government. So if we need like advice or guidance, we can come to MITI and talk to them. And the same also with ASEAN-BAC. And we started here, and then we have a flagship event every year, which we call the ASEAN Young Entrepreneur Carnival and Congress. And we move it to every ASEAN country every single year. Right? So it follows the ASEAN Chairmanship, basically. So this year, it's back in Malaysia, where the first time we did it here in Matrep. And this year we're doing it again, and we're going to be having it in October. And it's 10 years. Like, we can't believe that we've been doing this for 10 years. I'm one of the founding members. I've been sitting there as SecGen actually since day one, running it. So I always say, Malaysia, we have to be proud lah, because we've set this up. We set it up together as a region, but it's been run, by Malaysia. And then, of course, every country takes their turn as chair to run it. So we have co-chair, chair, and co-chair. So co-chair is like incoming and outgoing, basically, right? So everyone gets a chance to run it. And it's become a very powerful network. Because the people who sit in here and our members are all, you could say, been vetted. Right? So when we have businesses they come up to me, Deborah, I would like to find a business in Thailand. I go through AYC, pick up the phone, hey AYC, Thailand. I have a company from agriculture looking to partner with a Thai company. Can you recommend? Sure, I'll get back to you. They'll go through their database. Then we connect. So we also have like an app. But I also know that we haven't reached enough, right? So we've proven ourselves now. That's what I can say. So in the next decade, right, I have plans that I will be announcing and launching in October. And basically the focus is that now we've proved ourselves. We proved that young people can work. We proved that young people can be business owners and entrepreneurs and women and everything. But there's also still a lot more now we need to do. And what is that? I would say reaching out to rural entrepreneurs more. We're not connecting to them. We're just going to capitals or main towns and cities, right? But we're not really connecting. Then two, how can we connect with the women entrepreneurs more, right? What can we do to help them? So that's why we have this platform. It's like we represent the private sector to the public sector. We also have a policy dialogue that we do together with ASEAN Back. And after that, we compile a report and we submit it to the leaders. So that's in a way what we do. And then every individual country will have like maybe mentor programs, mini events, networking. So we're just really trying to bring as young entrepreneurs together that we can and use this platform to really get out there or learn with us or share your problems, because everyone who sits in it is an entrepreneur, right? You know, so we go through our own struggles, and maybe you could help me with something and you could help me with something, or I could help you with something. So it's really just, don't be scared lah. You know, like come on board so that we can all work together to help one another and then grow.
I mean, 10 years, that's a long time. A lot, I'm sure, has happened. I mean, some of the milestones that you've shared, that's impressive. But I think just quickly to go back on what you said, like in the past few years, it's becoming a lot more relatable, more relevant amongst young people. It's becoming a lot more known. I guess if you were to reflect in the past 10 years, right, you were there when this ASEAN Council started, the Youth Council started, and then what it's become now, especially with like what's going on outside in the world. I think young people can't afford to like not care anymore what's going on outside, and we're like exposed, we're bombarded with all this information every day. It's bound to get to them, right? But what do you think has evolved in terms of like what ASEAN is to young people from like, you know, the past 10 years to this day? Has that changed? How has that changed? Like you were saying a lot about the culture element to it as well, right? The culture is so vibrant. It's such a strong part of our identity as well, just as being like Malaysian or Southeast Asian. But like, has that changed?
I would say in the 10 years, it has taken time. Kind of like, it was in the beginning, it was kind of like education, right? To everybody, like what is ASEAN? Like,
it was very formalized, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's why I keep saying like people. I feel that the perception, the first thing that people think ASEAN, ni political, very bureaucratic, diplomats, you know. So what I've been trying to do, or we have been trying to do with AYC, is tell them no, it actually benefits us. But you need to. I can't hold your hand. I also got a business to run. You know, I also need to put food on the table, you know. And we do this pro bono, right? But the reason why we keep doing it is because in my perspective, it's like kind of like my, not charity lah, but my way of like, I want to help, give back. And also I meet a lot of people. I have a network, you know, now I have like friends. I can go to any ASEAN country and have a house.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
I know who to call.
Yeah. Or I can connect any businesses just through this network. And anyone who sits in this council also has the same advantage. And the thing is that we're not just a council. We are actually the only young entrepreneur council that is under ASEAN. ASEAN, you cannot just use the name ASEAN or use their logo. You have to get the approval. You know, so we are the official one. So that's why I tell people, like, if you really want to benefit, then come. You know, because ASEAN it will help you to connect. Like, very simple. Like any business that want to connect, just
Yeah.
So now, like in the first 5 years, it was very difficult. Now, I would say in the last 5 years, people are seeing it. Entrepreneurs are seeing it, and coming on board and building partnerships or building either partnerships or connecting or selling their products or importing, exporting.
Yeah.
It's now starting to move. Yeah. But I have to say the first 5 years was slow.
Yeah.
It was it was more like education line. Like now it's really opening up slowly. It was good.
For me, right, just to add on that, for when I was studying abroad, I feel like what ASEAN is to me then is whenever we see people from Thailand, Singapore, we always have this bond. So when you were saying about the culture within ASEAN, that I think relates a lot when you are away from home. So I guess the ASEAN thing would be more present when you are away from the ASEAN region. So it is already there. 5-10 years ago when I was abroad, it's already there. We are always feeling so connected with each other. For whenever we see Indonesian people or Singaporean, Thai, we would feel like,
there's like that unspoken connection, right?
The ASEAN that I think has been built long time ago. I think since they were formed, although it started off as a political piece, but now it has formed for us to, I guess, be more connected whenever we represent ourselves away from home.
Is that something that's meaningful, do you think, to you?
Well, it gives us that conversation that would allow us to have that connection with these people and build a network. And then together we are stronger, because even back in my uni days, we host parties or we host social gatherings or society events together. My university, Malaysia and Singapore is in one association.
Yep.
So it's always that kind of like, or like we would work together with the Thai association to come up with a big event. It's always that, I guess, we like to work with our ASEAN community, ASEAN countries.
Yeah, you kind of just gravitate to each other, right?
Yeah.
At my uni, like my society, my Malaysian society, the president was Singaporean. Which I don't know what that says, but we just kind of gravitate towards each other.
We hold and we have the same culture. We hold, I guess, the same values, virtues, and that's how we are bonded. But that formation took a long time. But now, like what Deborah said, we have more things to do. Okay, that education, that phase is done. So now, what can ASEAN do to benefit the anak muda? So maybe funding, access to capital, those are the conversations that anak muda now would want to hear. And not just for the urban anak muda, for even the rural areas, like Deborah said, not just the capital, but going across the country to meet this 4% you mentioned, however many millions that there are.
Growing. Yeah,
it's
a
growing.
huge number.
So a lot more to do. I think
for sure.
I think basically what we need to do is we need to empower the young and the youth. And we need to do that starting from school, teaching them and now before, if you think about it, 20 years ago, entrepreneur was like a big word.
Yeah.
Like, who's an entrepreneur?
Yeah, it's not so, you imagine a fancy suit.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You guys are entrepreneurs.
And now it's so like, entrepreneur. It's like, so it's now seeped into the educational system as well. I think you need to just start talking about it more, talking about also ASEAN, talking about kids being more open to experiences, to connecting, to networking, to asking questions. Also, don't be scared, to ask questions, one. And then two is exactly what you said, access to finance and investment, and also giving a bit of power to the young, allowing them to share the views of policies or issues and give them a voice.
Right.
Listen to them a bit more, because the youth and the young is our future.
Yeah.
Certain positions, who's going to take over your position later? The youth. So if you skill them now, so by the time they get to that part, they're already experienced, they're knowledgeable, they're confident, and they can then make right decisions because they've already gone through the part of the bad decisions. Because we have to go through that. You will have to go through bads and wrongs, and good. Then you'll know what is good also. I mean, we're not perfect, right? But so we can skill them from a younger age and give them a platform to empower them. I believe that would really uplift the young and the youth.
I like what you said about, how distance makes the heart grow fonder, right? Like when you're outside, far away, then you can see from the outside, like what you're actually missing out on, that sort of kinship that we actually share, right? And I hope this is okay to ask, but earlier you mentioned about the sort of similarity that we share with the South American countries. And, your personal background as well. You grew up here, but you also have ancestral heritage that stems from beyond Southeast Asia and beyond ASEAN, right? So maybe you might have not so much of a foreign perspective, but, you have the advantage of maybe having your feet in different places.
Yeah.
So what is it like maybe just getting to sit on the outside and see, and also work in the inside and see, there's this untapped potential. There's so much going on.
There is. I mean, where to start? I've lived here, practically my whole life, right? But I go back to Argentina for holidays, right? So this year alone has already been a crazy year of me of traveling for holiday and for work. So I was in Argentina in March, which I actually went for holiday, but I ended up working and I was at the Malaysian embassy. And
you just can't seem to take a break,
And then they did an event to talk about AYC and young entrepreneurs in ASEAN, to promote ASEAN and Malaysia to Argentina and how we can bring them here. And that's why I can say, I can see how South America and ASEAN has similarities and how we can work together, and same struggles and similar struggles. Obviously not exactly the same, but very similar, And then recently, I just came back 10 days ago from Venezuela. I was invited by the government for the first international congress of entrepreneurs, not young, but just international entrepreneurs. And I met people from everywhere. I met people from, did you know there's a small little island in the Caribbean called St. Vincent? I was like, where are you from? Yeah, we have maybe 100,000 people. That's country.
That's tiny.
But so I met all these interesting people who are doing the same struggles, and like a lady making cream out of coconut. I said, we do the same thing in Malaysia. I have so many friends making coconut oil, cream, put the hair, all this. Okay, maybe there's something I can do to help connect the two of you, or something. And maybe we invite you to come to Malaysia in October for our Young Entrepreneur, Council. So that's why I say, the world is big, but it's not big. And yes, I do have a little advantage in just perspective sense, because I am able to see, growing up here, being, I would say I'm Malaysian, because if I go to Argentina, I'm Argentine, but I'm not Argentinian. I'm French, but I'm not French. But I'm Malaysian, but I'm not Malaysian, So it's kind of like that
third culture, right?
Culture thing. That's why I keep going back to the same thing. We need to break out and just have the will to want to learn and connect more. Your business could do so much wonders in South America.
Yeah.
Or
hopefully one day we'll get there.
And but you need to be able to want it, so use platforms like we are building Maya and AYC, that we work together with the government, use these platforms to build your businesses, because it's not a profit thing. It's a platform where we want to help entrepreneurs to be able to do whatever you need to do and connect wherever you need to connect, basically, But you need to want it,
I mean, as you said, there's actually a lot of interest out there, isn't it?
Yeah. For Carbotech itself, we, after being invested with the international venture capital, then, like you said, it's very important, this network, because we do not know these people. So we get access to all these different markets that we never knew we would explore. So it's us getting ourselves out. It's always ASEAN the big focus for the first 3-5 years of our journey being in a startup. But getting outside, it's quite daunting because we do not know what is the market like, especially if it is South American. What is a South American take on photosynthesis enhancer, and who are we going to partner with? What are the regulations like? So, but yeah, I truly believe you need to get yourself out there, truly want it, meet the right people, connect with all these different platforms that are available for us to reach out to, and maybe one of them would be able to help us get inside the country.
Yeah. I mean, the fear is the unknown, right?
Yeah.
Like once you actually know what's out there, you've got people, you've got the network, the framework to help you get to know what's actually happening out there. Then what's there. Yeah, but there's no harm trying. But I guess we want to look forward, right? So we've seen the past 10 years. You've walked us through the journey. It's been a long journey, but like you said, you've got plans for the next 10 years to come. Like for yourself, how do you see, like for maybe the next decade to come, what do you want to see in ASEAN, especially for, I guess in hindsight now, right, with young entrepreneurs coming up, like what do you think they need and what do you want there to be offered in the ASEAN framework for them?
Yeah, ideally, I want something like EU, where the Germans can work in France. The French, I have people from France working in the UK commute on the daily. So you can get access to all these young talents across ASEAN. So the Indonesian can work in Malaysia without having to go through this permit, this visa that takes a long time. It's so hard for people to move around. And if we are able to access ASEAN and make people freedom of movement easier for these people, so it will be able to not only help these young people find jobs that are suited to them, but also would help all these young startups to give access. Indonesia, come on, there was so big of an opportunity there, and if we can bring it there, make it easier for us to get there, then that would be an ideal 10 years for me to see everyone working together around the region. Yeah, the barriers be lifted.
Yeah. What about you, Deborah? What's your 10-year wish list?
One is definitely that, for sure. I mean, that's something that the entrepreneurs amongst us, we're chatting. They always say like, yeah, it's so difficult. If I want to go to Indonesia, book up business, it has to be 90-80% owned by Indonesian. And then if I come to Malaysia, also susah, go to Singapore, is this. So yes, there's a lot of talk about free trade and all that. It's not as free as we think.
Yeah.
But then again, I know it's not as easy to do. And the reason why I think in Europe it's easier is the cultural difference is not as vast as we are here. Languages, okay, like they all have different languages. But I think it's definitely something that the governments need to really start looking at. How maybe they can just do it just for ASEAN nationalities. I mean, they do have this APAC card and all that, right?
Yeah.
But that's more for traveling. Maybe they have, they can start looking at a way of like how to allow this movement of working to gain experience. Maybe it could be like a 5-year visa kind of thing. For your first 5 years, you can move around to the ASEAN countries to work and get experience and gather knowledge and do knowledge sharing and blah, 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 and then come back. Maybe it could be like that. One of them. The second one, it would be is we really want to be able to try and empower the young and the youth. And I would just love for the youth and the young to be more confident. To start. Don't be scared to ask questions. Don't be scared to go out there. Don't be scared to look stupid. Of course, sometimes you want to look stupid if you don't know it. But then how are you going to learn? Sometimes you trip and fall, but you got to get back up like a baby. The baby falls. What does the baby do? The baby will get back and go. So we did that. We were babies, right? Yeah. So we have to also do that in business. So I just really would love to see the confidence level of our young and youth to grow, you know, and also like I mentioned earlier, to stop competing,
And work together, right?
especially with men. Come on lah.
Yeah.
Aiyo.
Are we still seeing that?
Yes,
Really?
so much. Like, especially young girls are always competing, and I think enough. Like, we can empower each other. We can work together.
Yeah.
And I advocate women, but I'm not like, I won't say that I'm a huge women advocator because the reason is I'm saying at the end of the day, we're the same.
Yeah.
It's just that we're different by gender, right? So we both have to work hard. We both have our own struggles. Yes, gender equality is an issue, but everybody's looking at it now and people are pursuing it. But it comes down to an individual.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it's what you want. So now you have so much out there and so much opportunities and platforms and, you know, agencies and these people, incubators, accelerators, like so actually a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
Talking about what's a lot, we did have a chat earlier on about what, you know, we're talking about what our wish lists are, but you've also mentioned some of the initiatives, perhaps not on a regional level, but what, you know, on a national level, what's been done to help you and your business get international. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, the first thing is, of course, the recognition from the venture capital, putting in money into the country. And with that investment, with that funds, then we were able to then access different market. So I was mentioning to you earlier as well that we got a grant from Singapore Temasek that allow us to do trial on in Indonesia, in Aceh, so 500 hectares of paddy. So it's like a Singaporean grant given to a Malaysian startup for a trial in Indonesia to help the farmers boost their yield. So that kind of initiatives that the Singaporean was already giving to any country within the region is, I would say, a wonderful initiative. It helps us to validate our product, and it also helps the farmers. After completion of the trial, they saw 30% increase in the yield of the paddy, meaning income of 3 times more than what they would have gotten without it. So to us, that really helps. And for Carbotech itself, we actually have an Indonesia employee as well as now 2 interns coming from Singapore. So that barrier, we hope to see less, and hoping to get more of within the region, within ASEAN, people growing Carbotech with us. Yeah, so these are the people that has different knowledge, different culture, different things to bring to the table.
I mean, there's a lot that not just young entrepreneurs, but just entrepreneurs as a whole, that they don't know the kind of initiatives that are being offered, right? And I think you also mentioned about some of the Miti initiatives or some of the help that you've gotten from Miti as well. I think ada lagi yang tak tahu, like what's actually being offered.
Yeah.
There are, I mean, all of these offerings or initiatives are quite, for us, it's like an opportunistic lifestyle. For us, it's luck. We don't really search for it, or it didn't come to us like that. It's somewhat from through a network of people that we know. So suddenly they know of what we do, and they want us to represent us in Tokyo, represent us in Vietnam.
So that was with Miti.
That was with Miti. There are also agencies like CDAC. All these different agencies within the country are trying to get us out, because it's like a trade missions, right? So I even had a trade mission to Zambia. So it's maybe not Miti, but it's kind of like Miti's objective to get us to other countries. So in Zambia and Africa, never been to Africa, but they, like South America, somewhat similar climate to us. And they are also planting wheat, soybean. So they really benefit a lot from this photosynthesis enhancer. So we are also distributing it there. We find a local partner. So I think a lot of trade missions, investment within outside of ASEAN is available. You just need to search for it or know the right person, network, go through all these events. Yeah.
Network. Powerful.
Yeah.
So, Deborah, tadi you mentioned a bit about, what the opportunities are like with the council, but you as an entrepreneur yourself, have you perhaps had some help yourself, perhaps from either ASEAN or MITI, running your own business?
In my business per se, I won't say, because my business is creative industry. Very hard to get grants and all, because we don't. That's another challenge.
Yeah.
But under Maya, so the Malaysian Young Entrepreneur Association and the AYC, because MITI endorses Maya to sit in the council, and that's under our constitution lah in YNC. So every association in all the ASEAN countries must be endorsed by the respective international trade ministry. So, but it also gives us weight. So it helps our entrepreneurs here. So when we have entrepreneurs in Malaysia that are looking for advice or help or anything, they will go to MITI and Matre. The specific grants or not, I cannot say, but I know for a fact that I've had entrepreneurs that have gone to Matre, for example, and they have helped them a lot in connecting. They've also come here to MITI and gotten, grants or support or even advice on how to go about the business. Because some companies that have come to MITI, for example, may not have been ready for a grant per se, for example, right? But what's the really good thing about MITI is that they didn't just say, you're not ready, go.
Yeah.
They actually guided them and said, okay, maybe you're not ready yet, but why don't you do A, B, C, and then come back, And then you can also look at our agencies that, are also focusing on your sector or your area or your stage of investment.
Right.
So I think that's really nice because it's made it feel for the entrepreneurs that the door is not closed.
Yeah.
And it's also made it feel that it's also not, they can not to be takut lah to us.
It's very accessible, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's the nice thing. So people feel like, it's okay, just call MITI and us. People be like, Belia. They don't, that is already passed, which is,
Sounds something like macam so big, kan? Macam
yeah. So in the beginning, people were scared.
Yeah.
Tak apalah, they should somewhere else. I'm like, no, just ask. Because they will definitely help you. I know for sure. I know for a fact they're not going to say no.
Yeah.
And if you're not ready, they will guide you.
Yeah.
So that I think is really nice. That's really nice. And really good and uplifting lah for entrepreneurs who are trying to build a business, knowing that they can have this governmental support from the country.
No, but yeah, it's good, isn't it, to just have the doors open, because that's hard to come by when you're young entrepreneurs. I mean, Amirul, what was it like, your journey to have your own startup, have your own business? What even led you to that? Did the doors close on you so you had to open your own?
No, I was in Accenture before I even started this first startup that I did. So I co-founded a company called BioLoop. So it is completely different than what I studied back in uni. So I was studying engineering, mechanical engineer, worked in Accenture, strategy consulting. Then my co-founder and I got together just before pandemic hit, and we saw this great opportunity for insect protein in the West. And we thought it is something that here in Malaysia that we can do better because the climate is favorable. There are a lot of conversation around protein, animal feed, and then this insect itself, they could also essentially, when it's like human, they have excrement, and their excrement are beneficial for the farms because of the high microbes. So we thought after doing 1 year of research, this is something we can do. We actually applied for grant, but then the grant rejected. I'm not going to say which grant. They said, what a bunch of 25-year-old two engineers know about entomology and know about insects, right? So we had to start from scratch. We did our own factory in Teluk Intan that could cater to 20 tons of organic waste. So the key here is, like you mentioned just now, is for us to essentially take action. Like we need to take action, get out of our comfort zone, and that what led me to the first startup. Then after that, it was in Perak. I exited it. I then co-founded this company, Carbotech. It was because I was already in the space and they were looking for another co-founder to scale up the business. We received a grant from 500 Global. With that grant, the company is looking to have a bigger production capacity so that we can cater to different market. So the door didn't close, actually opened up for me. So after leaving the corporate life, so like what Deborah mentioned, you need to learn the business before going into and making your own business, right?
Yeah.
So I did that, and after exiting one, I went to another startup, and that is now I'm a second company that I co-founded. I feel that there are a lot of great opportunities being an entrepreneur. It was something that I thought I would only do when I'm at 35. But I started it at only 25, 26. Yeah. That was my journey.
Not an easy journey, I imagine. Yeah.
Not easy, because when you are dealing with the agriculture space, you're dealing with the uncles, those that are already so used to their SOP, and when you bring up new thing to them, they will be like, "Huh? You are two young people. What do you know about what we do here?" So we have to really educate, just like educating the ASEAN. So you have to educate, give them awareness, give them free trials, get them to really have the buy-in. Then only we are able to see, then we ramp it up to 20 tons for BioLoop, to 20 tons per day of organic waste. Got a distributor, really show them that we can do, that we are confident enough to be in the same conversation room with the 40, 50-year-old people who are in the business for much longer than us. But we are here to show that we have a really good product. We are young, yes. We may not have the same experience as you guys do, but we bring great things to the table and great value, and it's sustainable. It's not going to damage the environment. And we're helping the farmers who definitely need the most. Like they are the one farming food for us.
Totally.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have to work twice as hard just because you're younger?
Of course. No, I don't believe I had any weekends then. Now, of course, I have bigger team and more delegation, but still, you want to do almost everything. But definitely, because when I started as a young entrepreneur then, it was, like I said, very hard to convince these people, and they look down on the youngsters. Like, what do they know about business? That they try to cut you, like buying things cheaper than the market. And of course, we know, we have learned from what we've studied, and so doubly hard. But we got the lucky break. One distributor that managed to purchase our product more than double than what we predicted we could sell it.
I mean, all it takes is just that one person to believe in you, right?
Exactly.
It goes back to what you say about being confident, about empowering young people, because young people might have the advantage of being young and having that sort of energy and that time, but at the same time, you also have to work twice as hard to prove to others, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Very hard. But I mean, any journey you pick is not easy.
Yeah.
And whether you want to be an entrepreneur or you want to work for a company, it's both. It's fine. There's nothing. Nothing is. It's the same.
Yeah.
It's just what is your skill and your decision of what you want to do, and both routes are not easy.
Yeah.
You know.
I think we're gonna come to an end, but I think if we want to just end things, we did mention a bit about some of the wish lists, what you guys want. But I think in the near future, what would be your message to just the young listeners out there, the young audience, about, again, we've said a lot about seeking the opportunities that are out there, but what do you think is one key thing, an opportunity that they should look out for in perhaps the near future, looking at, so many potential opportunities in the region, right? Like, what is your message to potential young entrepreneurs out there?
For me is for the youth, right? Just get your education across different country. So I have seen people from Indonesia studying in Malaysia, people from Malaysia studying in Indonesia. So just from there, when you study in different country, you get this you get immersed into the culture. So to me, education is very important. If it is not within ASEAN, go abroad and then you would form this kinship within your ASEAN region. But to the young, have your education and then go into the entrepreneurial world if you want to. Because you are hearing more of like a sexy story of, people dropping out of universities and going into business.
Yeah.
Well, if they can make it, good for them. But for me, without my education, without the people I gather or the network I built during my educational years, I would not know people. I would not know people from different industries, what people are doing. So education is not just the education that you learn from the institutions, but also the network that you build through that in that period. So
Not everyone can be Mark Zuckerberg, right?
Yeah.
Just drop out.
exactly. So that it will be my message. Education is very important. Have it within the ASEAN region or go outside of your country if you need to. There are so many opportunities.
Deborah, any parting words? Any word of advice?
Word of advice? That 100% agree. I would also say to develop skills. Education is one, definitely super important, but two is also life experience. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you need also the life experience. You need the real world. You can't also come out of university and straight away build a business.
Yeah.
If you've never worked in a business, how are you going to know how to run it? So have real life experience. Go do those internships, go do it in another country, travel as well for fun, and read. Read, not read your IT now, TikTok. I'm saying read books because it's just a different, like chemical, connection, books and your brains and knowledge. I mean, my late father also taught me this, like knowledge is key. Like even if you're just sitting, just read a book, read. Because no matter what, at the end of the day, if you are knowledgeable and knowledgeable, no one can mess with you. That means also know what's going on in the world. Like news, get out there. So basically, upskill, educate, get real life experience, and don't be scared to ask questions and network. Message me if you want. I'll help, I'll
answer you. Give you a call when I'm in Bangkok and I need a place to stay.
Or you need to connect to a business or you need a network, call. Like, just don't be scared to ask. That's what I would say,
Thank you so much for your words of advice and for sharing your experiences, your insights. We hope that does go a long way in sharing a little bit about all the kind of opportunities that are out there. Definitely go grab the opportunities either through ASEAN, some of the government initiatives that are out there.
There's a lot. The government is actually providing a lot.
Yeah. We hope that does help share a little bit about what's going on out there. And what you can do if you're, an aspiring entrepreneur, or even if not, we hope that does inspire you to perhaps start something of your own. Thank you so much, Deborah.
Thank you.
Time.
Thank you.
Thanks, we hope to catch you another time on Sembang Santai Miti Bicara Asean. Kita akan jumpa lagi dalam episod seterusnya. Jumpa lagi.